Last time on A Soldier's Life. Eric and a few others make it to the portal that leads to the capital in time, so they can leave their witness statements before Castile's tribunal. Constantine meets an old hound flame in the kitchen, but denies it. Eric gets put in front of a truth seeker and spills the beans about how Durandus died. The truth seeker seems very interested in the supposed Titan city or whatever it was that they were looking for. I get the feeling that Eric said too much. Eric and company gets told to stay outside the tribunal and wait until it's over. Then, the Chancellor himself approaches and tells Eric to come with him. Just a little friendly talk. Nothing serious. So now, let's see what the fuck he wants. Chapter 66. Verdict. I walked behind Marcel, who had a fast pace for a librarian. He smelled of sweet perfume as he pranced ahead of us, and the crowded streets parted before him and his escort. We entered the main road that led to the Imperial Palace. The imposing palace approached rapidly as we followed the confident Chancellor. We reached the gate to the Imperial grounds. 4 legionnaires stood there with shiny steel armor and gold highlights. I assumed these were the Imperial legionnaires who served the Emperor directly. Chancellor Marcel did not pause and walked between the guards into the grounds. The legionnaires saluted him with their right palm flat on their left collarbone. This was the Emperor's salute. Maybe it was because he was counsel to the Emperor. I was not going to ask. The fewer questions I asked of the man responsible for the College of Scholars, the better. Agreed. Instead of heading to the palace, we took a blue-veined marble-paved path to the right through expensive and diverse flowering gardens. Pretty. The kaleidoscope of colors passed rapidly as we went deeper into the Imperial District. I was starting to get nervous but maintained pace. There was a class of 9 young children in the gardens. A bald man in blue robes was explaining one of the flowering trees, telling them where the tree normally grew on the continent. That was all I caught as we passed the class. We reached a series of modest homes on the other side of the vast gardens. Each home was made of plain gray granite and had a small personal garden out front. Short, white marble stones marked off the gardens. Marcel walked up to the steps, and I followed. The 2 legionnaire escorts turned and walked away. I paused to watch them. Marcel also stopped and explained. I only have an escort when I leave the grounds. If they thought you were a threat, they would have remained. Come inside. My wife my wife should have lunch ready. Okay, wow, how long am I staying? Inside the stone dwelling, large windows dominated the walls, giving it lots of natural light. The spacious room was both a kitchen and dining room. A woman who appeared much older than Marcel smiled. Ah, I see you found the boy you were looking for. Damn near had to be mercury sipping all across the city, Marcel griped to the woman as he sat heavily at the table. You need to get out more anyway, Marcel. Sit, and we can eat. I am Sophia. I assume you are a Legionnaire Eric. She smiled as she placed a pot on the table. A tray of flat oval bread was soon added to the table. Help yourself, Eric. Consider my cooking payment for your knowledge. Don't be bought so cheaply, Eric. Knowledge is more valuable than gold. Although Sophia's cooking is as well, Marcel said, smiling at his wife. He took a piece of bread and then scooped a healthy portion of thick sauce with cubed meat and vegetables. I followed his example. Sophia poured wine for everyone and then joined us. The whole friendly atmosphere was a little surprising. It's a little creepy. Marcel asked as he ate. I read the report Yanis submitted for the trial. What do you remember about the storm giant? I chewed and swallowed, making a satisfied groan at the taste, which earned a smile from Sophia. Why is he trying to weasel his way into Sophia? He was big, maybe the height of 5 men, Much quicker than you would expect, I answered. No. What was he wearing? What did he say? Marcel asked, studying me. I do not think he said anything. Mage Durandus just attacked him, I replied, and continued taking bites and waiting for questions. Marcel frowned. That is unfortunate. Storm giants are one of the few reasonable giants. How old was he? I apologize. You're asking things I have no knowledge of. He had a beard that was light brown, if that helps, I said and tried the wine. It was flavorful, but slightly acidic. I'm sorry. I'll try to direct my questions based on your background. Ooh. Your accent. Are you from Linshania? He did not wait for an answer before adding. The length of their beard usually determines the storm giant's age. They would have certain color beads in it for their life's accomplishments. I am not from Linsania, I said carefully. I was slightly worried Marcel may have the truth-seeker ability, so I planned not to offer any information. The giant's beard came to his waist, I remembered. He did have beads in his beard, but I cannot recall the details. We left the body in the crater. I am sure the beads are still there. Yes, he nodded. Waist. At least a few centuries old then. He sucked on his teeth, considering. We're considering an expedition, but with the Barbaradians so close, it will take time to pull it together. Now, what about the city below the swamp? We did not see it. Only Durandus saw it with his magic. He told me it was a city of the giants, but his power was not strong enough to explore it, I replied, and started eating again, hoping he had forgotten his line of questioning about where I was from. Marcel went into another room and came back with a long rolled-up parchment. Sophia rolled her eyes at his excitement, but cleared the table as he unrolled the map. It looked like the Telian Empire. Marcel eagerly said, Now, where was the giant digging? It took me time to find Matcha and the roads we patrolled. I guessed on a spot off the road. Here, or about here. They both looked at it, and it was Sophia who spoke. It could be that the city was submerged, and silt built up over time. Look, mountains surround the swamp, making it a perfect bowl, Sophia commented. Marcel grumbled that he had not noticed first. Never marry anyone smarter than you, Eric. Not only will she always point out your mistakes, but she solves riddles before you. He studied the map. That does fit with the myth of the city of the Titans. Atlantium, being buried by a great flood. Titans? I asked, confused. The giants, Marcel answered distractedly, studying the map. Before elves, dwarves, humans, and orcs, the giants ruled all of Desia. They had one great city that was lost when they challenged the gods. Sophia chuckled. He tries to romanticize it. The giant races ruled over all the others. It was not the gods, but a great war among the storm, frost, fire, and cloud giants that decimated their population. They're just like us smaller folk, but only bigger, she chuckled. Marcel griped. That is simplifying the history, Sophia. He turned to me. The giants destroyed all their cities in the war. Only the capital, the greatest city in all of Desia, Atlantium, remained. The myth goes all the other giant clans banded together against the storm giants. Having lost the war, the storm giants were exiled from the capital city. In retribution, the remaining storm giants summoned a massive and fierce storm that drowned all the other giant races in Atlantium. Sophia added, Marcel believes powerful artifice items were buried with the city. He has been searching for it his entire life. He told all the children he has ever educated in the Scholarium the tale, hoping one day one of them will help find it for him. Well, it worked. Yanis found him. He pointed at me, not taking his eyes off the map. Sophia shook her head and sipped her wine. Marcel kept trying to dig details out of me, but I had very little to offer him. I answered honestly, even though I was sure he was not a truth seeker now. After patiently answering all his questions for 2 hours and through 2 more helpings of stew and 4 glasses of wine, I eventually got bold enough to ask. Wow, the wine got to him. Chancellor Marcel, is there anything you can do to help Mage Castile with the ducal tribunal? Ducal tribunals are always political, and I do not become involved in politics. Sophia nodded in support of Marcel's statement. I decided not to press further and answered his questions as he ferreted out everything he could from my memory. He finally stood. Legionnaire Eric, thank you for your time. You enjoyed the wine? I nodded. Sophia, why don't you give him a bottle? Whoa! As he walked me out, he explained. At the bottom of the steps, wait for an Imperial Legionnaire to escort you off the grounds. They don't take kindly to strangers wandering the grounds. He clasped my wrist in a handshake and handed me the bottle of wine. Is your accent from Kongshuya? I'd hoped he had forgotten about my accent. I did not get the feeling he had the truth-seeker ability during the questioning. I yielded to ease his curiosity. I feel like he would find it nice, since he was like, he seemed to like the riddle thingies, all that. So I feel like he might as well be like, no, I'm not. And then he would be like, I have to figure it out. Like, don't tell me type of things. I feel like he could get away with not telling. I know he's gonna tell now because I see the next fucking words, but still. I wouldn't. I am from a tiny village in Singa. I joined a caravan transporting Tastewood, made the mistake of sleeping in the wrong place, and found myself conscripted. He nodded. Ah, yes. I can hear it in the undertones. Must be the eastern provinces at Singia, he deduced. I nodded, agreeing with him. Well, if we have a chance to talk again, I would love to hear your impressions of how the Telian Empire is perceived further afield. My primary service to the Empire is researching the political climate in all of Dessia and advising the Emperor. Well, perfect. I almost told Marcel that I was just an uneducated villager, but I thought better of it and nodded. Thank your wife for the wonderful meal. I turned and 2 Imperial Legionnaires were waiting for me at the end of the walkway. I was a little spooked as they had not been close a few seconds ago. I guessed they had used a spell form. Ooh. Instead of walking me through the gardens, they took me to a closer access point to the Imperial grounds. 4 Imperial Legionnaires guarded this small door in the wall. I was pushed out into the streets and the door was barred behind me. It kind of felt like I was trash being thrown out, which they probably think. I was in the upper city on the side street. I followed the Imperial compound wall back to the main street. From there, I was able to get myself back to the Magistrate's Hall. Out of sight of anyone, I moved the bottle of wine into my storage as I walked the halls to the Venus room. When I arrived, the blue double doors were open. The hallway and room were empty. I was stunned for a moment before finding a white-robed magistrate. Has the tribunal finished in the Venus room? He nodded immediately. About an hour ago. The Dukes left the building. He was going to keep going, but I stopped him by holding his arm. Oi. He looked at me, waiting patiently. What was the decision? He looked confused. I believe the mage was found guilty. He sized up my appearance and clean-cut face. I can bring you to records if you want to know the specifics. Please do. I nodded with a pit in my stomach. I was sure Constantine would have the details as well. I followed the magistrate through the building and into the basement, where a sprawling library was located. Dozens of white and yellow-robed individuals weaved through the shelves of books and scrolls. My guide stopped a white-robed young man, who then he rushed off. I will leave you here. Magistrate Marcus went to retrieve the records. He will help you, Legionnaire. He bowed and left. The young magistrate returned a short while later with a scroll. He bowed at him, though. Okay. He handed it to me. Please be careful with it. It has not yet been transcribed into the histories. I unfurled the scroll and read it. Okay, here we fucking go. Ducal Tribunal of Mage Castile Duval. Sitting Dukes. Duke Vito of Camellia Province. Duchess Veronica of Sobral Province. Duke Octavian of Sakigos. Sakigos, says goes, province. Charge 1 brought by Duke Octavian, retreating from the field of battle. Vote, guilty, 3-0. Punishment, 10 years of additional service without annual wage from the Emperor. What? Charge 2, brought by Duke Octavian. Fuck you, Octavian. Willful neglect of Empire resources. Vote, not guilty, 2-1. Charge 3, brought by Duke Octavian. Conspiracy to the death of Mage Gregor. Vote, not guilty, 2-1. I wonder who this one is. Could it be Octavian? Charge 4, brought by Duchess Veronica. Conspiracy to the death of Master Mage Durandus. Vote, not guilty, 3-0. Charge 5, brought by Duke Octavian. Conspiracy to the death of Displacement Mage Santino. Vote, not guilty, 2-1. Octavian, stop it. Charge 6, brought by Duchess Veronica. Improperly holding a tribunal of Mage Durandus' death. Vote, not guilty, 3-0. I read the document twice, and Marcus added, "This is the summary. I can gather the related documents if you wish, Legionnaire." No. I rolled up the scroll with the Imperial seal on it. Where is Mage Castile then? I had thought that when I heard she was guilty, she would be executed. Marcus turned and found someone I recognized as having stood guard at the door. He went and asked him and then returned. Marcus informed me. Mage Castile left with her legionnaires at the tribunal's conclusion. Thank you, Marcus. I turned and found my way out of the maze-like building. I was soon in the streets, heading toward the Eastern Legion Hall. So I guess she will definitely not be executed then, and that she will just, quote-unquote, just have to serve for 10 extra years without pay, additional pay. Chapter 67. The Chains That Bind. The capital city of Tella was easy to navigate from the main road. I started the long walk back to the Legion Hall. It was late afternoon, and the streets were packed. Someone bumped me and searched inside my hardened leather chest armor for a coin purse. The hand was gone before I could grab it, and I had no idea who the hand belonged to in the dense crowd. It did not matter. All my possessions were in my dimensional space, and my short sword and dagger were at the Legion Hall. My stomach was stuffed, and I was coming down from the minor buzz of the wine. I slowed as I thought about finding the Adventurers' Hall. There was a lot of gold waiting for me there. I decided against it. If Constantine found out I went before checking in, he would probably lay into me. I paused as I passed a tailor. I was halfway to the Legion Hall, far away from the more expensive shops near the palace in Upper City. There were only a few patrons inside when I walked in. Okay, so he can do this, but not go and get his... Wow! It looked like the shop catered only to men. No one came to help me, so I walked among the shelves, browsing. They sold a mixture of new and used garments in a massive array of designs and colors. I found cotton clothes for the first time. Everything I had seen so far had been wool, linen, or a heavy linen called canvas. This material was definitely cotton. One of the men in the store approached me. "Legionnaire, can I help you?" He was middle-aged and balding and wore a fake salesman's smile. "Is this cotton?" He replied with the Latin word for cotton, then went into a salesman diatribe about where it was produced and imported from. All I got from his explanation was that cotton was not grown in the Empire and would cost me a lot. I understood that without industrialization, clothing was much more labor-intensive to produce. I'm newly assigned to the capital. Can you help me put together 2 sets of clothing to wear in the Upper City? I do not want to feel or look out of place, I said. The man looked me up and down in assessment. "You are quite large. Go into the back room and remove your armor so we can try a few things. Do you want new apparel, or is used manageable?" I guessed he was judging my ability to pay. I did not want to come off as wealthy, even though I had a large amount of gold and silver. "Probably used, but just bring me whatever you think may fit my frame. He showed me to the back room, which was not private. A short middle-aged man with a pot belly was trying on clothes. A father was working with his preteen son to find clothes as well. I removed my armor and my top, revealing my muscled torso. My tailor arrived with a load of used shirts to start. I noticed the pot-bellied man comparing my physique to his, clearly envious. Oh my god, Eric. The shirts were mostly too tight. I soon found a deep blue wool shirt that had been mended many times, fit well and smelled clean. This is merino wool, Legionnaire. The finest hairs from a Tigairosian sheep. As you can see, this piece has been mended a few times. You seem to like it. 2 silver? I felt the long-sleeved shirt again. It was nice, and if I wore a jacket over, it would cover the repairs. 1.5? He looked a little upset, but nodded. I bought 3 new snug black cotton shirts for 5 silver each, which made him quite happy. I learned that new clothes are not negotiable, unlike used clothes. The cotton material was thick, and they were all long-sleeved. The next piece to purchase was the pants. He had some thicker cotton pants, something close to denim. They fit like sweatpants with no pockets, were slightly loose, and required a belt. The problem was the color were atrocious. Purple, red, and orange seemed to be in fashion for the wealthy. I found 1 black pair, but my muscled thighs were too tight in them. It was a shame we had to move to new pairs because the older pairs had already been broken in and were softer. But at least I had a color choice. In my size, my choices were red, dark brown, or undyed off-white. Dark brown. I got the 2 pairs of dark brown. Yes! Dude, Eric has style. There were no other option. I got the 2 pairs of dark brown pants for 25 silver each, which was cheaper than the brighter dyed pants. Socks were easy as they came in 3 sizes, and I was the largest size. I got 10 pairs of wool socks, 5 dyed black and 5 dark blue. I had 10 pairs of Legionnaire wool socks in my dimensional space, but I wanted to dissociate myself from wearing Legion markers when I explored the city. All Legion stockings were yellowed off-white, and may be noticeable to those with a keen eye. Plus, you can never have too many socks. I hate socks though, but I can also agree. Belts were just a silver each, but I had a number already in my space, and some were not Legion belts. I still bought 2 dark brown belts. The jacket was next, and it took some time for him to bring out a selection. He had a large number of used jackets. I wanted something used and found something close to my oversized oiled canvas cloak, made to wear over my armor. The used jacket was mostly black leather with a dark green cotton lining. It had a few interior pockets as well, and one looked to be for a knife. It was broken in but still in excellent condition, and he wanted 2 gold for it. I talked him down to 180 silver. I like that he's like full black. I approve. The last piece in the ensemble was boots. I know that he had brown pants, by the way. I'm just saying that he likes black. And who doesn't? It's the best color, non-color, whatever you want to call it. My Legion boots were broken in already, but easily recognizable. He did not have much in stock as he was not a cobbler. I found some dark brown riding boots in his meager offerings that fit a little loose. But they were broken in, and they were only 50 silver because he had them for so long. He had them for so long. Just not a lot of men with feet my size. Good boots were normally very expensive. My total invoice was just over 3 gold. That was over half a year's Legion pay for me, but I still had 13 gold coins from the dungeon. For the quality of the clothing, I thought it was worth it. It was comfortable, and I should be able to blend in with the myriad of fashions I had seen on the streets of the capital. It also lacked the bright colors the wealthier people seemed to like, as I did not want to draw attention to myself. Bro, you're already easily the tallest person here, apparently, because you're huge. You're buff as fuck. People will notice you in bright or dark colors. I paid the happy man, and he bundled everything together. After I left the tailor, I turned towards an alley to be unseen and moved the package to my dimensional space. I hoped to have time to explore the city as a well-off civilian and not as a legionnaire. Sure. Because you have so much free time. As I approached the Legion Hall, I thought maybe I should get Castile something. A "congratulations, you're not going to be executed" gift. What? I stopped at a bakery and pastry shop and got a basket of various doughy sweets for a silver. That was a lot of coin for 9 pastries, so I just assumed they were good. I don't know how she's gonna feel about this. We'll see. When I returned in the evening, the Eastern Legion Hall was not very active. A few men practiced in the central courtyard, but fewer men lounged about, unlike yesterday. I went to the bunk room where we slept last night and found Pavel and Benito lying in the beds. "Guess it went all right," I said, entering. Pavel sat up. "Castile is in a private room at the end of the hall. She is sleeping, but said to send you in if you returned. Constantine and Linus are checking to see when the next portal to Carenhagen will be opened." He remembered where I went. "How was the Chancellor? Did you meet the Emperor?" But his wife. We just went and ate lunch at his house with his wife. He asked questions about ruins, and I answered him as best I could. I made the mistake of putting the basket down. Benito snatched and took a sticky bun. Oh, fuck you, Benito. I should have noticed him eyeing it as the smell of the warm pastries filled the room. "I actually got those for Castile, Benito." He ignored me and handed the basket to Pavel. Pavel said, "Well, we all rushed here to save her, so I'm sure she would want us to have 1, or 2, or 3. I just shrugged. "Fine. Save some for Constantine and Linus then." Benito was already on his second, and I doubted any would be left by the time Constantine returned. I turned away and went to look for Castile. Why did I get so pissed? I actually, that was expensive. From my exploration, I knew where the private mage rooms were located. I knocked on a few and no one answered. Finally, Castile opened her door. It was 2 back, so she must have gotten up slowly. She looked haggard and tired. Her hair was a mess. She recognized me. "Eric? Is Constantine back?" "No. Pavel and Benito said you wanted to see me," I said. She studied me. "You look well for having raced across the Empire. You even shaved." She tried to make it sound complimentary. "Come in and we can discuss things." Castile smelled a little ripe. She had not bathed and still wore the same clothes from when we left Matcha. She sat on the bed while I remained standing. She was quiet, so I began. "I'm glad you escaped the tribunal." She barked a harsh laugh. "Escaped? From one spider web to another. Duchess Veronica may have saved me from Octavian's plan, but now I owe her favors." "Better than being dead. And you were only found guilty on 1 account," I offered, trying to be positive. She grunted. "Yes, the Duchess could not worm me out of that one. She did manage to reduce the penalty from life of servitude to just 10 years. She looked me in the eyes. "The magistrates review all judgments. They can send it to the Emperor for review if they find something not in line with the evidence the truth seeker provided. The Duchess could not challenge the facts on that charge, but the evidence confirmed by the truth seekers also allowed her to manage the facts for Duke Vito on the other charges. I would not be surprised if she owes Duke Vito a few favors for his votes. Octavian was definitely livid at how Vito voted." Okay, maybe it was Vito then, not Octavian. Oops. I was not sure if I was overstepping by asking, but I was curious. "Why did the Duchess take such an interest in you?" Castile looked like she had aged over the last few days. "Duchess Veronica is one of the Emperor's granddaughters. I do not know the lineage. I am guessing it is 2 or 3 generations. When she was educated in the palace, the Emperor favored her as a child and carved out a province for her to rule when her father named her a first citizen and paid her tithe. Title? It is a tiny province with 1 small city. I guess she has higher aspirations than ruling the smallest and weakest province in the empire." "So Octavian is her uncle?" I asked. All of the dukes are related in some manner, Castile said, standing up from the bed. Enough about my fate, Eric. Now let us talk about you. She eyed me. I do not know if you are an otherworlder. If you are, never tell me. But yet, give me a false narrative. So if a powerful truth seeker questions me, I will not have the answers they seek. I nodded, relieved. I am from Tsinga. Really? How did you get here? Why were you naked in the farmer's barn? Why would you come to the Italian Empire and not speak the language? I read your transfer card from Centurion Silas, Eric. When you were assigned to me, it reads like you fell out of the sky. Seeing the worry on my face, she smiled. Do not worry, Eric. The only things sent to the Imperial Legion Hall were your tablet scores and a few pieces of fabric with your blood. Your background information came only to me. Centurion Silas is an idiot and only cared about what bonus you earned him for imprinting your spell form. Blood? Why would they need my blood? I asked, though I already had an idea. I looked back on the first weeks of training. The trainers had taken our bloody and torn shirts and given us new ones. After that, we were taught how to repair our clothes. For magical tracking, only those who graduate in Legion of Lion are registered in the capital in case of betrayal. After 2,000 years, the Empire learned and is prepared to hunt down traitors. It is why all the children of the nobility are educated at the palace under the Emperor's scholars. Castile paused, letting me realize the scope of my own predicament. If they think I'm dead, would they destroy the bloody clothes? I asked. Ha! If only they were that organized. The Legion Hounds maintain the archive in the capital. They probably have tens of thousands of samples from the last 1,000 years. Not just Legionnaires, but every mage and first citizen well. We have it worse than you, though. There is a backup archive for mages and nobles, hidden elsewhere in the Empire. We are truly bound to the Empire, Castile explained. I felt angry and a little helpless. Why are you telling me this? Castile let a smile creep onto her face. Because I think we can help each other. Ooh, 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 hell yeah! Teaming up with Castile. Chapter 68. First magic lesson. Oh, ooh. Castile's smile faded. It's about survival, Eric. In that way, I lost the tribunal. 10 more years without being able to draw replacements over the company's minimum. As a mage commander, I built a loyal following and developed competent men. They are all I have. I was confused. I thought you were just not being paid. Castile laughed without holding back. No, I'm being cut off from all resources. No replenishing my ranks beyond the minimum size for a company. No annual payout for service, and my existing accounts have been seized. And no potions can be purchased from the Imperial Alchemist at the discounted mage company rate. I'm sure my new benefactor, Duchess Veronica, has a plan that will bind me to her. Castile pointed to a sealed letter on the desk. I will learn more when I open that. I looked at the letter and then back to Castile. So, what do you want from me? I asked. I want you to be invested in everyone's survival, she said levelly. I do not need to know your secrets. In fact, it is better that I do not. Being around me is dangerous. I doubt Duke Octavian is finished with me, but he should be content that I am trapped for another 10 years, giving him time to exact revenge. I thought about it. Is the blood tracking real? Can't we just leave the Empire? Seek sanctuary in another kingdom? Castile sighed and huffed resignedly. She echoed Constantine's words. The hounds always find you. She looked me in the eyes. A legionnaire like you could probably flee. They would not pursue you far outside the borders, but I cannot say for sure. Maybe they would send a phantasm to hunt you or try to track you with agents in other kingdoms. Myself, they would track me no matter where I went to make an example of me. Castile noticed me processing. Yes, you could flee. But if you are an outworlder, like I believe, you are not prepared. I can help you. If your tablet reading is correct, you cannot learn true magic. Your shaping attribute is too abysmal. but maybe you have other spell forms beyond healing and space you need help imprinting. I will help you with that. I was thinking, and Castile decided to wait for me to process. She picked up the letter and started to open it. As she read, her eyes focused on the document. She spoke to me. If you imprinted self-healing, then I assume your second most powerful affinity of time can receive a spell form. Do you want help with that? I was silent, considering her offer as she read the letter. A look of distaste formed on her visage, as if she had bitten into something sour. Why is my poor shaping preventing me from learning true magic? I asked, after she put down the letter. Damien had explained it, but I wanted further clarification from a true mage. Damien is a true mage. Castile was distracted for a moment, but decided to demonstrate. She put her hands about 12 inches apart, and a blue light started to trace out to what I recognized as a spell form. It was slow and deliberate. This is the speed someone with a 10 in shaping can mold their ether into runic script. She spent about 5 minutes tracing the lines in the air between her hands. You also need to keep ether running through it at the same time, as it will dissipate if not sustained, she explained. When the spell form finalized, she dropped it, and the entire thing quickly vanished. So I could cast spells then, and it would just take a long time, I asked. She smirked like I had fallen for the punchline of a joke. That was one of 4 spell forms for a spell. Now watch that cast a spell with all 4 forms, and a 66 attribute in ether shaping. Light flared between her hands in a blink, and the smoky tendrils I was familiar with oozed from her fingers. She looked at me. All magic affinities and traits are exponential. Each step of 10 is twice as powerful as the last. 20 is twice as strong as 10, and 30 is 4 times as strong as 10. Oh shit, okay, here we go. What? Okay, magic affinity 10, ability power 1, 22, 35. You get the point. I'm not going to say all these numbers. I stopped her. I'm already aware of this. I didn't know it also extended to the 5 magic attributes on the tablet, though. The small woman stood and walked to get water from a pitcher. Remind me of your magic attributes. Etherpool 14, Channeling 14, Shaping 8, Tolerance 22, Resistance 5, I recalled from memory. Do you have a tablet in your space? That is higher than I remember, closer to your potentials, she asked curiously. I shook my head. I got a reading in a city after we escorted the first citizens. She nodded, accepting my explanation. She took out a quill and paper. Write them out for me with your potentials then. It will make things go quicker. Okay, Etherpool 14 out of 22, Channeling 14 out of 55, Ether Shaping 8 out of 8, Ether Tolerance 22 out of 50, Ether Resistance 5 out of 19. I wrote them out and she reviewed the sheet before continuing her teaching. So your ether pool is small. Usually anyone with any of the magic affinities would have a potential of at least 10. If you continue using your ether and maximize your pool of 22, your available ether should more than double, going from 14 to 22. What does the potential of 55 in channeling and 50 in tolerance mean? I asked Castile. Channeling is how fast you can replenish the ether in your core. There are exercises to help you train that, but it also happens naturally. Castile said to my nods. Damien had given me a very simple meditation technique. We can work on those in the future. She tapped ether tolerance on the paper. Your ether tolerance is how much ether you can channel in a day. Your maximum potential is actually quite impressive. If you reached 50 in the attribute, it means you can channel 16 times your total ether core in a day without burning your channels, Castile explained. When we fled along the aqueduct, I was pushing the extreme limit of my own 33 in ether tolerance. If you exceed your tolerance, you can reduce your ether pool permanently. When that happens, channeling any ether becomes painful. Mages who do this are referred to as burnt. Is there a way to know if I'm getting close to my limit? You just know. It feels like your blood is boiling and your head is about to explode. It is your body's way of telling you to stop, Castile instructed me. And ether resistance? I asked about the last attribute. It is a person's natural resistance to magical influences and backlash. For instance, when a mage tries to use a charm spell on you, they need an illusion affinity about 30 points higher than the target's other resistance to succeed, she noted. A normal person's potential is between 10 and 30, but most people never train their other resistance, so it remains below 5. She asked, "Have you tried to move a living creature into your dimensional space?" Oh my god, I swear she knows. I nodded, hiding my shock at the question. I did not hide my shock, but did not mention that I had succeeded. Castile explained. Then you already know about backlash. When a creature resists an imprinted spell form, it reflects back on your other core. Backlash does not happen when you use a true spell, as it is not anchored on your core. You were probably slightly ill or lightheaded for a few hours from the backlash. I thought carefully and said, I have moved a live rat into my dimensional space before, but 2 rats. I let the question hang. So you must have a space affinity in the 40s to be able to move a small creature with a small other resistance. That is actually quite impressive and makes me wonder how big you are. Oh, Castile, she smirked. But yes, 2 creatures at once is exponentially more difficult as their resistance is multiplicative. Curious, she looked at me. I would ask your space affinity, but it is better that I do not know. I could see the burning desire to know in her eyes, though. I was still thinking of my next question when Castile asked, do you want help learning a spell form of the time affinity? Yes. No. What? I started. Castile looked surprised and a little hurt. I actually want to learn a spell form for protection first. Oh, first, yeah. I pulled a spell form reference book from my dimensional space. Her eyebrows arched, but she did not seem surprised. She took the book from me. Volume 2. She paged through it and then looked up. And what spell form did you decide on? My protection affinity is 30. Castile's eyebrows went up, but she did not offer a comment. I had just revealed that my time affinity was at least 30. I decided to be funny. I think I want to imprint protection from the elements. If I choose either of the other 2, then my mage commander will send me into more dangerous situations. Dude, there are a couple already. Holy shit, I ship them. Castile read them quickly and then smiled at my joke. Yay! I really want to know if there are other options for me to imprint. Oh, I like them. Castile was patient as she reread the text. Etheric armor amulets are common magic items used by mages. They are expensive but extremely useful. She reached into her shirt from the top and produced a fist-sized amulet. This is a similar artifact. It can repel 3 or 4 strikes before being drained. The problem is it takes a lot of ether and some time to recharge. She paged through the book again. These are definitely the spell forms to maximize your protection affinity of 30. Air Shield has the most utility in and out of combat, but the strength of the barrier is related to your protection affinity. So it's like my dimensional pocket. My higher affinity made it a larger pocket, I asked, as Castile already knew my space was larger than advertised. Exactly. Air Shield can be used as a shield in combat, a way to block a passage or even a platform to stand on momentarily. Even though the barrier is not strong, you could cast many of them as layers until you run out of ether. Etheric armor would drain your ether directly, and you could run out rapidly, Castile explained. I vote for Air Shield. Sounds cool. Air Shield also only lasts about 10 heartbeats, according to the text. Oh, bruh. So, do you think protection from the elements is not the correct choice? I asked for her honest opinion. It is not a bad choice, but you realize that if you use the ability openly, you are displaying your spell form for all to see. With protection from the elements, rain will never touch your body, and you will not sweat in extreme heat. Even your hair would not be tousled in the wind. Etheric armor is the same, as blue sparks would flash when you are struck. Only Air Shield would leave no trace and be invisible, she said, offering her educated opinion. And, if I was not concerned about showing my spell form, Which of these three would you choose? I asked again. If I was not in the Legion, definitely protection from the elements. In the Legion, air shield. With etheric armor, I would be too worried about having my ether drained involuntarily by repeated attacks. I would get an amulet instead. Also, if you are on a battlefield, with flashing blue sparks when your ether shield is struck, you quickly become a target of the enemy as well, she explained her reasoning. I considered her rationale, and it made sense. Only if I was not going to be fighting did the protection from the elements make sense. I considered showing Castile my amulet, but thought I might be able to get it identified in the city on my own. What? Complete trust was going to come in baby steps. Okay, fine. Okay, I would like help with air shield. Yes. Castile smiled since I took her advice. She started by showing me a few exercises to improve my channeling. Castile had more knowledge and a better understanding than Damien. Damien will forever be first boy though. She fine-tuned my visualization for meditation and showed me how to cycle ether in my core to draw it in faster. Then she gave me a few hints on imprinting the air shield spell form. We spent nearly 3 hours together in her room. What? The others are going to question this, I swear to God. I need to bathe, eat, and sleep, Castile said as the sun has set. Tell Constantine I will talk to him in the morning about when the rest of the company will arrive. Thank you, Castile. Even though I cannot cast a true spell, maybe you can show me how to write out the spell forms in the air, I asked hopefully. Castile studied me. If we have time. It would take you years to learn with your attribute, Eric. It is much harder than I have shown it to be. She sighed. But yes, I can teach you. I felt good about my situation as I returned to the bunk room. As I entered, Constantine, Pavel, Benito, and Linus looked at me. Constantine started to get up, and I said, Castile said she would talk with you tomorrow. She's going to bathe and rest as she is exhausted. See? They're gonna think. They all looked at each other. Benito blurted, Told you! You all owe me a silver! Oh my god, I was confused. What did they think happened? Oh my god, yes! Oh, Benito. I love you again. It's okay, you can have the fucking pastries. Chapter 69. The Price of Freedom. Benito had bet the others that Castile and I had an intimate evening together. No shit. Constantine had not been part of the bet, but by the look on his face, I needed to give him an explanation. Since they would see my air shields eventually, I went with that. Castile was helping me to learn a new spell form. She was also showing me how to replenish my ether faster as well. Benito's mouth hung open, looking at me like I had betrayed him. He slowly handed a silver coin to Pavel and then to Linus. Now that the awkwardness had passed, Constantine took charge of the situation. Get some sleep. We will go and get our gold from the Adventurers Guild in the morning. I lay down and quickly fell asleep. My dreams were marred by nightmares of having to defend the walls of Matcha from an army of storm giants and then being enslaved by them to dig out their lost city in the swamps. I tossed and turned most of the night, waking numerous times, but the dream remained the same. In the morning, Constantine, who had been long up, directed us all to suit up and wait in a small private dining room. Castile joined us, looking refreshed and noticeably healthier. Constantine brought breakfast from the kitchens. The stuffed rolls were similar to the ones we had yesterday, but had different spices today. We had a chilled berry wine with almost no alcohol in it. We consumed the food in silence. After we finished, everyone waited for Constantine or Castile to speak. Benito, the idiot he was, asked, Mage Castile, are you teaching Eric a new spell? Castile's eyebrows arched and she looked at me. Benito was still sore at losing 2 silver. Castile offered a tight smile. He's working on a new spell form, not a new spell. Only mages can cast spells. Benito deflated as Castile confirmed my story, and his silver was truly lost. As usual, no, we had sex. Imagine, Benito. I would have died. Constantine spoke. The others will be here for Carenhagen in 2 days. Before noon, we will all go to the Adventurers Guild to collect our coin. He looked at us. I suggest you get your coin and transfer it to your family or deposit it in the Imperial Reserve. You do not want to walk around the city with that much gold. Castile tapped her fingers softly on the table, thinking before she spoke. I have received our next assignment. We're going to be guarding a team serving the Duchess Veronica's land in the Sobral province. It is a 6-month assignment. 6 months? Constantine pressed his drink to his lips, pausing. His eyes looked like he expected this, but his voice was confused. The province is less than 1,000 square miles. Why so long to survey it? Castile shook her head. The Duchess's province is new, and she wants to make sure the borders are clearly marked. A white marble stone will be placed every 100 yards along her border. Benito piped up. Well, that sounds like a great assignment. We just need to guard a bunch of wagons full of stones. Sounds nice. Constantine looked at Castile, who did not look happy. I am guessing we are going to be the ones digging the holes. Constantine noted to Castile's dismayed nods. Castile explained. From what I understand, the Duchess's province is mostly devoid of anything useful. She has just one city on the Agantarao River, a few dozen farms, and some small lumber camps. Most of her lands are wild. I do not know the threat level of the creatures, but the main concern will be from the other dukes not liking where the markers are to be placed. Constantine nodded, finished his cup, and said seriously, Land disputes are never fun, especially at the ducal level. Do we at least have an Imperial surveyor with us? Castile thought for a moment and then pulled a letter from inside her cloak and read it. It just says to meet the surveyor in Sobral City. My guess is there will be no Imperial surveyor. Constantine grunted. I suggest we double up on supplies then. Castile grimaced. My Imperial Reserve account has been seized to cover the Empire's losses in Matcha from our early retreat. Also, I can no longer draw a reinforcement for the company for 10 years unless I fall below the minimum company strength of 12. Constantine barked. Well, that is dragon shit. We are not a displacement mage company. Do we need to buy our own replacement gear? His anger was rising, and veins stood out on his neck. Castile nodded. Old gear can be exchanged at no cost, but new gear will be charged to your legionnaire debt. She exhaled. Do not worry, I still have the gold from the dungeon discovery and will cover new gear, and I can purchase healing potions from the guild. Benito asked. I thought the Adventurers Guild does not operate in the Empire. Castile shrugged. They have a few halls in the larger cities or near dungeons, but generally the Empire will send out the Hounds or a mage company for monster threats. Still, the Adventurers Guild is the expert on dungeons. The Emperor allows them, for that reason, to siphon off essences and artifacts from their efforts in a dungeon rather than risk his own forces inside dungeons. Constantine added, There was also the Guild War, about 1,000 years ago. The Empire tried to throw the Adventurers Guild out of the Italian Empire. The adventurers banded together and joined the Empire's enemies. Only after losing half of its territory did the Emperor agree to allow the Adventurers Guild back with the stipulation they never attack the Empire again. The Empire had to concede the monitoring and management of dungeons within its territory to the Guild as part of the treaty. Castile said, The Empire does keep tight control of essences and artifacts coming out of dungeons. The only place to sell them is in an adventurer's hall, when the Empire will usually swoop in and purchase them. Castile stood. Enough discussion. We need to prepare for the company's arrival and a river voyage to the Sobral province. I'm just so happy that we're going to the Sobral province because I can pronounce Sobral. I appreciate that. We followed Castile to the street and formed a protective box around her as Constantine led us to the adventurers' hall. The civilians moved out of our way, just not as enthusiastically as they had when I walked with the Chancellor yesterday. The Adventurers' Hall was a single-story building in the lower city near the southern gate, about as far from the palace as you could get and still be within the city walls. When we entered the room, it reminded me of a legion hall, minus the legionnaires. A number of men and a few women sat eating and drinking or playing table games. They did not look happy to see us. Castile stepped forward and went to the counter. Mage Commander Castile here to collect the discovery reward for our dungeon. I'm so scared that they're not going to get anything from this. The man behind the desk was grizzled with massive forearms and made a show of slowly pulling a large book and slowly paging through it. Oh boy, an asshole. He looked up at Castile. 1,705 gold, 88 silver, and 14 copper. He motioned for a man sitting in the common room. The man left his drink to join us. Oh, good. Money. The man was clean-shaven and introduced himself. I am Guildmaster Icarus. I have the truth spell. If you will confirm that you are in fact Mage Commander Castile Duvall. I am, Castile said sharply. After her experience with the Imperial Truth Seekers, I guessed she had no love for any of their ilk. The grizzled man received a nod from the Guildmaster. It will take a moment to create your voucher. The man left the counter and another man took his place. Constantine went forward to repeat the process, and instead of creating a voucher, the Guildmaster counted out 7 large gold, 5 small gold, 7 large gold, 5 small gold, and 68 silver coins for Constantine. The smaller amount was more manageable to pay out directly. I was next in line and confirmed my name as Eric Marco. I received the same amount of coin as Constantine. I put it into a pouch, then under my armor, and then moved it into my dimensional space. Constantine noticed, and I think he thought about giving me his coin, but held it. The men and women in the hall were taking too much interest in the exchange at this counter. When everyone had their coin, the man came out of the back with a stamped bar. Castile took it and led us out of the hall. On exiting the hall, Duke Octavian and 4 of his legionnaires were waiting for us. Oh, fittazo. If he takes the fucking coin, I'm gonna... He had a smile on his face. Of course he does. Mage Castile, it is so interesting to see you in the lower city and at the Adventurers Hall, no less. I heard this amazing tale from the first citizen Justin Cicero just the other day. You have discovered a new dungeon. That is remarkable. I hope you are not planning to hold on to the reward. Your release was contingent on all funds earned before your failure in Matcha being seized. I believe you discovered the dungeon before, even though you're just receiving the funds now. His grin widened. Oh my god, can we kill him? Castile's like, Eric, do your thing. And he fucking takes Octavian into his dimensional space. Moves on. Anyway, even standing behind Castile, I could feel the fury oozing off her. The Duke motioned one of his men forward, and they took the stamped bar from her hand. They handed the bar to the Duke, and he inspected the stamp on it and frowned. Where is the rest of it, Castile? A voice behind us made the Duke look up. That is all the coins you received after your empire taxes, Duke Octavian. It was the Guildmaster Icarus talking. The Duke narrowed his eyes at the Guildmaster. He then looked at each of us, and realization spread that Castile had divided the spoils among her men. We remained next to Castile in support as the Duke fumed. The Duke turned abruptly and left with his legionnaires. Constantine muttered, What a pixie prick. Benito asked, So, does this mean we will not receive our weekly pay? No, you will get paid. Castile snapped. You can collect it in the Legion Hall, Benito. That is where I will be. She walked off alone. Constantine looked at Benito. You need to learn when to keep that thing shut. It is only good for eating and pleasuring your woman. What? Constantine! Castile paid you extra coin on top of your legion pay from our own pockets. You will get your 5 silver and 40 copper weekly from now on. Benito looked a bit flustered and eventually moved off with Pavel and Linus to care for his coin. I was left with Constantine. Holy! Constantine. Eric, I'm headed to the Merchant's Hall to send these funds to family. You are welcome to join me. Constantine waited on me. Do they have tablet readers in the Adventurers Guild? I asked, looking back at the building. Constantine looked at me. Probably. I have never been in one for more than a moment before. You would probably have to join the guild, though. I can do that? Even being a legionnaire? I asked Constantine. There is no law against it. A number of legionnaires joined after they finished their term. Constantine studied me as I thought. I slowly turned and walked back into the building. Ooh! Okay. Interesting. Chapter 70. Adventurers Guild. When I entered the Adventurers Guild, I became the focus of attention. Again. There was a pause in conversation as distrustful eyes turned toward the lone legionnaire. Guildmaster Icarus stood and approached me. Legionnaire, is there something else I can help you with? I was wondering if you have a tablet reader I can rent in private, I asked hopeful. The man considered my request, looking me up and down, judging me. We do have a tablet. It costs 1 silver for attributes and 10 silver for affinities, but you need to be a guild member to rent them, he answered. That was much less than the gold I had paid in the city of Orveo. Are they private? I asked again. Yes. The room is spelled to avoid scrying as well, he said, nodding, and I could tell his patience was wearing thin. Excellent. I would like to become a member then and rent both tablets, I replied. His eyebrows showed surprise. Icarus considered me again before calling to a tablet behind him. Desdemonia, come help this young legionnaire register with the guild. Desdemonia. Miss Demona. A short woman who had been playing something that looked like Go. Huh. She's playing Pokemon Go. Student came over. She was close to my age, but had a weathered face and a dark tan from long hours outside. Pokemon Go does that. Go outside. This way, legionnaire. We can use my father's office. I followed her down a hallway. Her sun-bleached hair smelled like the sea. Getting those water Pokemon. Okay, I'm gonna stop. We entered an orderly office. The desk was the exception, which had a dozen folders and papers scattered across. She just shuffled everything off to the side and found the sheet she was looking for in the pile. She seated herself in the desk chair. Name? She demanded with some impatience. Eric Marco, I said, sitting across from her. Have you ever registered with the guild under a different name? Was her next question. No, this is my first time, I said. Okay, the next 10 questions are optional, but I will just skip them then. I just want to use the tablets, I admitted. She put down the quill and eyed me hard. Fine. 25 silver to register with the guild and 11 more silver for both the tablets, she muttered, annoyed at having to deal with me. I reached inside my chest piece, pulled a gold coin into my hand, and placed it on the table. She stood up, swept the coin, and took the paper that had just my name on it. Wait here, legionnaire. She left in a huff. She either did not like me, men, or legionnaires in general. It was a good hour before she returned. What, an hour? With a circular brass medallion. My name was clearly stamped on one side. Oh, I thought it was with the tablets. I was like, 1 hour to get the tablets? Are you joking? My name was clearly stamped on one side, and on the back was the symbol of the guild. A globe with a tree in the center of it with numerous branches and detailed leaves. Desdemona tapped it while placing a stack of silver on the desk for my change. That is your guild emblem. It has your name and number. I turned it over and noted my number. 13, 39, 39, 19, below my name. I grabbed the 64 coins on the desk. I assumed she gave me 64 single coins instead of 6 large and 4 small to try and be a nuisance because she did not like me. I noted a hole in the token. There is a hole in the top. Do I wear it around my neck? I asked. Desdemona tossed me a leather strip from the desk to make a necklace. Follow me and I can activate your tablets for you. Before standing and leaving the office, I slowly tied the leather cord to the medallion to irritate her. I then asked, is there any significance to the number 13, 39, 39, 19? The impatient woman barked. The first number is the guild hall you joined in. This is Guildhall 13, she paused. The original Guildhall was on the banks of the river, but we relocated here. The second number indicates your membership number at this hall, but we only started tracking membership about 1,000 years ago. I followed the short woman out. She was maybe 5'2", with a muscled hourglass figure. I was a little upset by her attitude. I removed my helm and followed her to a small closet. The tablet was the size of a desk, dominating the tiny room. It was not the handheld one I was accustomed to, and it looked weathered and ancient. Desdemona sat on the other side of the table. I asked. I thought this was a private reading. Do you have ether and enough control to activate the tablet? Her eyebrows challenged. She was way too smug to be likable. I do, I said, trying to figure out the tablet. It had everything on this one tablet, all attributes and all affinities. I figured it out after a few moments of studying it. It made sense that I needed to channel my ether while pressing both my hands into the indentations resembling hands. Wow. Desdemona had not left yet. Where is the reset so I can erase my results? She started walking toward the door and tapped the corner of the tablet as she passed. Channel ether here, Legionnaire. It will reset and blank the tablet. When the door closed, I locked it from the inside. I stood before the tablet and produced a strength essence from my dimensional space. I would get a reading, reset the tablet, and get a reading again. I placed my hands and channeled my ether. My scores appeared in the tablet, and I consumed the strength essence. Before resetting the tablet, I studied my improvements while the essence worked on my body. Okay. Now we have this again. So, strength went up by 2, power by 2, and +1 max. That's how it was, right? Quickness +3, dexterity +3. Yeah, whatever. Strength 50 out of 79. Power 48 out of 83. Quickness 35 out of 49. Dexterity 39 out of 60. Endurance 67 out of 95. Constitution 50 out of 68. Coordination 46 out of 63. Intellect 31 out of 54. Reasoning 49 out of 61. Perception 54 out of 60. Insight 35 out of 49. Resilience 47 over 71. Like kind of low comparing to the others, I would say. Empathy, still fucking none. 12 out of 21. Fortitude 53 out of 89. Ether pool 16 out of 22, which we just found out about anyway. Channeling 15 out of 55. Ether shaping 8 out of 8, we know that. Ether tolerance 24 out of 50. Ether resistance 7 out of 19. And prime ether affinity space, minor ether affinity time. Okay, and here we have the elemental magics common. Fire none, air none, water none, earth 6, lightning energy 8, spirit healing 23, and nature plant 0. Unaffiliated magics uncommon. Charm mind 5, illusion 0, clairvoyance 0, protection guardian 30, necromancy celestial and abyssal 0. Rare magics, we have space at 98, whoop whoop, time 90, way, displacement 61. Materialism 9, Worlds 88, also cool, Void 22, and Convergence 74. My eyes immediately went to the affinities, and I now had an Earth affinity of 6. That seemed an extreme gain from 0 with 1 Apex essence. Next, I confirmed my healing affinity had also increased, up to 23. This improvement had allowed me to imprint the self-healing spell form. My physical, mental, and magical attributes had also gained over the last 2 weeks. I had consumed a fair amount of essences and even now felt the strength essence doing its work. Hopefully, the strength essence would settle before I was disturbed. The last time I did a tablet reading in a city, I was rushed out. When I felt essences settled after about 10 minutes, I reset the tablet and activated it again. Strength, +2 and +1 max, 52 out of 80. My actual strength had increased by 2 points and my potential by another point. This was impressive for a major essence. I confirmed that was the only change, so I reset the tablet again. I only felt mildly stronger, but the changes were still ongoing, with my muscles still feeling hot and emitting heat like I had a fever. Soon the essence was spent, though. That I was sure of. My goal for the rest of the day was to find somewhere to get the amulet identified, anonymously. I underrated the door to found Desdemona in the hallway, waiting. "Wait," she ordered, as she went inside to make sure I did not steal or damage anything. She was being thoroughly meticulous, checking the tablet and under the table like she did not trust me. Is she confirmed the tablet still worked? I asked. What else do I get for my membership? Desdemona paused and thought about being abrasive but exhaled. You can rent a room or bunk in any adventurer's hall. You have access to the job posting boards in the halls, and you can also enter the dungeons we monitor. She finished her inspection. Also, you get discounts on services like equipment, food, and drink. She studied me like I was not the enemy now. Nice tan. I offered a compliment that was usually well received in my past life. No. She gave me a hard look and then short a laugh. Windburn and cooked is more like it, from days spent on deck. Deck? Like a ship? I asked. What else has a deck, Legionnaire? She said, mocking me, but with a slight smile. Maybe she was warming up to me. Hell yeah. I ignored the retort. With a good-natured smile, I replied, Where can I purchase artificed items and potions in the city? She gave me a strange look. Right here, Legionnaire. The Imperial Alchemists also have a shop near the palace, but our prices are half theirs, and the product is probably better. Most artificed objects need to be ordered and shipped in. It takes about a month. The Italians purchase anything we stock besides potions. She guessed at my intentions. You got some gold and thought you would spend it. She had seen me get my reward for finding the dungeon. Exactly. Where is your potion shop? She waved me to follow, and I did. We were soon in a side room that reminded me of the Legion Hall equipment rooms, except this one smelled strongly of worked leather and oil. A short man was behind the counter, and I blurted, Are you a dwarf? Eric, are you sure there weren't any alcohol in that wine you had this morning? He huffed indignantly. Halfling, Legionnaire. Dwarves are not welcome in the Italian Empire. Halflings are tolerated. He ignored me and looked at Desdemona. Why is the Legion boy here? He joined the guild, paid, and received his medallion. Desdemona smirked, and the halfling looked resigned to help. Name is Tarvon Fogbow. Fogbow? I run the gold. I run the guild warehouse in Tella. He held out his small hand. His small hand. And my hand engulfed his forearm as we shook wrists. At least the man was polite now that he knew I was a member. Eric Marco, pleased to meet you. Tarvin. I'm looking for some potions to help me sleep without dreaming, I said. Okay. Tarvin looked at Desdemona, who rolled her eyes and left us to do business in private. I have a honey slumber draught. He pulled a blue liquid vial from under the counter. This does not remove dreams, but makes them very pleasant. 10 silver a dose. Then I have oblivion pills. Oblivion pills. He pulled a jar of red marbles out. These will knock you out for about 6 hours. No dreaming, just peaceful rest. How much are the pills? I asked as the jar had dozens of marble-sized pills. Guild rate is a silver piece, Tarvin said, tapping the jar. How do they work? I mean, can I wake up if there is danger? I asked. It is just a deep sleep. Someone could wake you, but most likely you are not going to wake on your own. If you took 2 pills, you would be out for a good 8 hours, and no one is going to wake you without some magical help. 3 pills could kill you, and it would definitely kill me. He was very patient in his explanation. I pulled out a gold coin and placed it on the counter. I will take 100. 100! As Tarvin counted out the pills, 1, 2, he said, If you are having this much trouble with nightmares, you might want an artificed dreamcatcher nightcap to do the same thing, or see a guild mage to purge whatever memories are causing them. I will try this first, I said, taking the glass jar. I advise against using them out in the wild, Legionnaire. The last thing you want is to have to take time to come to your senses when a gnoll hunting party finds your company's camp at night, Tarvin advised. I nodded at the wisdom, but had been thinking the same thing. Do you want any healing potions? Stamina potions? How much are they? And maybe a cure disease if you have it, I asked the halfling. He stepped off his platform and went into the back to retrieve a few rags of potions. I have 6 cure disease potions here. I want to note they do not work on magical diseases. He made eye contact to confirm I heard him. They are 10 gold each, which is a great deal as Imperials charge 25 for theirs, except these 2 are a week from expiration, just a gold each for those. He shuffled the racks. For healing, Desdemona just brought in a fresh shipment of potions. I have a healing ointment, lesser healing, and greater healing. The ointment will close wounds, the lesser potions can heal soft tissue and mend bone, and the greater healing can align and mend bones and generally heal just about anything except poison and disease. He motioned to the cure disease potion I was interested in. Do you have any of the healing ointments or potions near expiration at a discount? I asked, interested. Tarvin started reading the dates and moved the potions about in the rack. 6 ointments, half off, as they just have a few days left. 50 silver each. Fresh vials are 1 gold, the same as the Imperial alchemists. But the lesser healing potions are 4 gold, 1 gold less than the Imperials. He beamed a wide smile at me. I do not have any lesser or greater healing potions getting close to expiration. Greater healing is 40 gold. He held up his hand to stop me. Imperials sell them for 50, so it is a great deal. Why don't you store them in a dimensional space? I asked the halfling. If only we had someone at the guild hall with those. With one. Most of the experienced adventurers avoid the Italian Empire like a plague. They do not treat us well no matter what the treaty states. Tarvin said, and his tone told me I was getting him upset since I was a legionnaire. I will take all the expiring stock. The 2 cure disease and 6 ointments. Also 4 lesser healing. I placed 21 gold coins on the counter. He put the vials in one rack and pushed it toward me. After the death dog scare, I was happy to have the cure disease potions. The healing ointment was good to have if I was close to running out of ether or needed to close a companion's wounds. 16 gold for the 4 lesser healing potions was insurance if I was out of ether or had a companion in need. How nice of him. I felt I had established a good rapport with Tarvin, so I asked, do you know where they identify dungeon artifacts in the city? I can do it here. Just a gold, and it is private. He eyed me curiously. I had overlooked that the Adventurers Guild monitored the dungeons, so it made sense they could identify dungeon objects. I debated, but this seemed like my best chance to find out what the amulet did without experimenting on it myself. Okay, I have something I wish to have identified. Tarvin's eyes went up in happy surprise and slid him a gold. He took it and said, "Follow me." He hopped off his platform behind the counter and went to a door. With his back turned and no one else around, I sent my jar of oblivion pills and the potion rack I had purchased into my dimensional space. The small man's office was half orderly and half a mess. Forgive the smell. I had to send all the expired potions and broken vials we did not sell back to the central guild hall. It was not an unpleasant smell. Like rotting vegetables with a strong hint of cloves. Sounds nice. Love that. He closed the door and sat on his desk chair. Let me see it then. I reached into my armor, pulled the amulet into my hand, and handed it to him. He turned it in his hand. Definitely a dungeon artificed device. I think I may know what it is, but you paid for the full service. He pulled out a parchment with runic script and placed the amulet on it in front of him. The runic script started to glow a blue-white light as Ether worked through the runes. Tarvin's eyes reflected the blue light as he studied the scroll as it worked. When the light faded, he looked up smiling. Well, Eric, this is quite the intriguing artifact you have here. And they leave me with the fucking cliffhanger. We've been waiting so long to know what this artifact is. Tell me! Well, we will find out next time.